My name's Elliot Schoner. Welcome to the 13th grade. Let's talk about what is success. So this might sound like really, really crazy to think about, but it is very important that we actually define what success is. To be honest with you, success is completely different to individuals. So one person might think this is a success, the other person might think another thing's a success. And it's not related to anything, but my one of my sons is like exceptionally really good at school, and they literally get hundreds on everything, and they're like in a gifted program and all that kind of stuff. My other son, to be honest with you, is like C's, some D's, like just struggles, right? And so my one son comes and he's like, "Hey, Dad, I just took my test. Awesome. Like, I did really well today. Like, I got an 84." And for the most part, we'll be like, "Yeah, man, good job," right? Because we're trying to move him into like a BA scenario instead of like a BC scenario. So anything that's like kind of a B, B plus, we're like pretty happy about it. So I'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, good job, B," like because at least he didn't get a C, right? And if he was got an A, we'd be like, "Oh, awesome, super awesome. Like, let's go celebrate or something." My other son, so like we're in the car and he comes, he's like, "Hey, I just did my test or whatever. I just got back. I got a, I don't know, whatever, an 83, it's 83." And my son immediately turns to me and he's like, "Ted, like that's not good. That sucks. You're stupid." Right? And my son's like confused because he's like, "What? I don't understand." Like me and dad have had conversations and, good for me is like BAB. And that's just because that's just where he's at. And good for my other son, as I tell him, I'm like, good for him is like getting into the next grade, like being a grade or ahead. And so there's two different kinds of success. If I went to my son that's maybe not doing as well and I said, "Hey, your success is like, two grades ahead like my other son," it would probably be pretty demoralizing to him, frustrating because he's so far from me. He might just give up and be like, "Well, I'm never going to make it. What's the point? I'll just be dumb," right? So anyway, so the point of success, it's different for everyone. When it becomes to finance, it is actually even more different because we're all in different life stages. So if you are a person in, the true self to whom you are is a person you're like, "Hey, I want to be a nomad. I just kind of want to go backpacking. I don't really ever care about owning a house. I don't want any fancy cars. It's just not who I am. I really just want to make enough money so I can go volunteer, overseas, I don't know, Doctors Without Borders, whatever it is." Like that person is completely different than the person that's like, "Nope, I want to raise a family. I want to have 3 kids. I want to be able to go on, 2 or 3 nice vacations a year. I want to be able to put them all through college, help them out with their wedding, give them a nice car." Like that's a completely different number and a completely different lifestyle. Then there might be the couple that's like, "Hey, we're not going to have children, or we're going to dedicate our lives to building this startup and building this company." And so what is their number? What does that look like? So success defined is very different for everyone. And this is also why it's very important that you never judge where you are against where someone else is. The only way that you should be judging yourself and how successful you are is upon, are you meeting what you can classify as actually being successful? Because you could be in a great place and someone else is doing so much better, but you could just be like, "Well, I'm like not even interested in that," right? And this is also very important as well because we'll get into this later, but like to get certain levels, you have to take on so much pain, right? So pain and action equals results. Well, if the result that I'm looking for is, I need to, is maybe $5,000 a month, right? Then I can take on the certain pain to get that. That might work for me. But if my goal is like, "Oh, I need to make $100,000 a month to sustain my lifestyle," that's what success looks like as far as money coming in. I got to take on a lot more pain probably to get to that point. And so some cases, which we'll get into, but like your success is also what are you willing to take on as far as pain and how uncomfortable are you willing to go or how long are you willing to work? But for the purpose of this, because it is very important because the noting of success changes over time, that wherever you are right now, I want you just to kind of look at and say, what is a modest point? Like, where do you see yourself being successful? Is it you want to own a home? You want to like what is it? Just whatever that is. So I want you to take the time. Again, don't cheat on this because this stuff is like extremely important. But pause the video, write down, take out, a sheet of paper or whatever, and just write down what success looks like for you. Take 5 minutes, however long it takes, paragraph, bullet points, it doesn't really matter. Do that and then come back. And then I want to talk to you a little bit further about sort of how a different way to define it. But do that exercise. Let's see where you want to be. And then so that way we know what we need to be building to. All right, guys. So hopefully you did that lesson. If not, well, shame on you. But you should because it's very, very important. But I want you, hopefully most of you probably put down something like, I want to have a nice house. I want to drive a car. I want to put the kids in school. You put down a lot of things, a lot of stuff. And I didn't mean to trick you or anything like that, but I wanted to define things just kind of a little bit differently in it because I think that makes a lot of sense to define it in this particular way because it's a catch-all for everyone. But for me, financial independence, and this is kind of a standard sort of understanding in this particular industry, but financial independence or financial freedom is your ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, for as long as you want. And so a good descriptor of that is if you were looking down at your list and you're a person that wants to um, work your entire life, that's fine. If you don't want to work your entire life, that's fine. If you want to travel, you can travel. If you don't want to travel, you don't have to travel. But the idea is like you can do whatever you want. So I choose to go into work today, but I wouldn't necessarily have to. So I can do whatever I want. If I on a Wednesday afternoon, I want to go have brunch with a couple of friends, I'll go have brunch with a couple of friends. Um, so whatever I want to do, if I want to take a trip over to Japan because that's in my sort of ether of what I deem successes, I'm able to do that. So if you were like, oh, I want to travel around the world, I want to hit 16 countries, then you can means you can pick up and kind of go travel around as you see fit, as prices make sense or whatever, right? You can do whatever you want. And you can do it whenever you want. You don't have to wait like, oh, I can only go this place on the weekends. Like, hey, I want to go to the beach. Let's take the kids to the beach on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can do it whenever you want to, if that's what your goal is. And you can do it with whomever you want. And by whomever I want, we don't mean, hey, I can go, I'm going to go sit at a beach in Key West with, David Beckham. Like, that's silly. Like, he's got to be invited. What I mean by with whomever you want, it's like whoever you want to take with you. So we do vacations for my family. We try to cover like 5 to 10 countries a year. Last year we were able to do like 11 countries or something like that. This year we're a little bit smaller than that. Um, but we're never in a situation, and this is what I define as success for our family, is that I want to give my family or my children the gift of, instead of them learning about the Berlin Wall in a book, I want to take them to the Berlin Wall and talk to them about what that means. I want to take them to, the pyramids. I want to take them to Japan. And I want to give them that experience. And so we plan vacations. We're never planning a vacation going like, oh, well, it's going to be seven of us. And that means the tickets are going to be $30,000 just to fly there. We can't do that. So just the wife and I need to go. We can bring whomever we want. When we travel, we generally bring our three kids and actually the grandparents or other family members to come in just to help, to give them experience and also to help monitor the kids and so forth. You don't need to know about all that, but you get the point. But the point is that you're not having to sort of downgrade where you want to be, that you can do whatever you want. You can go with whoever you want, by yourself, with family members. It doesn't really matter. Like you're free to do so. And then again, you can do so for as long as you want. And again, I'll use a vacation example of this, but if you're like, listen, I want to go to the beach. I'm gonna go there for a week and I'll just come back. Like, or I'm gonna go skiing and I don't have to just do it on the weekends, or I don't have enough money to go for 4 days. I'll just go for a day. And all the sacrifices that you will have done to get to the point of this status. That's what I'm talking about. Early on, when you're living your uncomfortable lifestyle, when you're trying to save and build, you might go and like, I can't do whatever I want. I got to work tonight. Um, I can't do this, or I can't do whatever I want. Like I can't go to the Taylor Swift concert when the tickets are $1,000. I can't do that. I'm just going to watch it on TV. I can't do whenever I want. I can't that because I got to work tonight. I can't go do that thing. I can't do whomever or I want. I can't even afford myself. I definitely can't afford to take you out on a date or to take my two friends out on a skiing trip or deep sea fishing trip. I can't do that. And I certainly can't do it as long as I want because again, I got to be back at work, right? And I can only afford one night. So it's that. But it's this. So this is a general kind of idea. There's an acronym that people follow, and it's called financially independent with the ability to retire early. And so all of that, what I just talked about, is you're financially independent. You don't have to worry about your finances, and that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, for as long as you want, for whatever. Um, the term financially independent or FI is the first part of that. There's a second part that someone added, and I forget who it was. If I can figure it out, I'll add it during video editing. But it's this idea of being with the ability to retire early. A lot of people used to say like, "Oh, I just want to be FI. I want to be financially independent." And then someone was like, "Well, I want to be financially independent with the ability to retire early." Because what I just mentioned to you, being able to do whatever you want with whomever you want for as long as you want, whatever, that's really talking about retirement, right? Like I don't have to go to work. I don't have to do it. I can do whatever I want. I can move freely. I don't have to worry about money. I got enough money coming in from whatever. I'm good. I'm financially stable, financially independent, financially freedom. Um, but some people are like, listen, it is actually pretty easy to get there. It oftentimes happens before people realize it's going to happen. And so this idea of like, yeah, I'm 33. I'm fine. I'm financially independent. I wouldn't necessarily have to work if I didn't have to, if I didn't want to, but I do want to because I just think I can do more. So we say all times, it was a really profound statement that if you follow the principles that are in this course, if you follow like what we're talking about, you live uncomfortably, you do all the steps, you get a good circle of influence, you do all that kind of stuff. It really is not going to be a question of will you make it. Oftentimes, it is how far can I go, right? And I'll add to that, I'll say, how far do you want to go? Not how can you go? How far do you want to go? And so that's different for everyone. And that's why I wanted you to sort of think about what success looks like. Now, if you're 20, 25 and you're watching this and you're like, success for me is similar to my parents, but a little bit better. I want to have a nice three-bedroom, two-bath house. I want to be able to drive a decent car. I want to be able to like go on a couple of decent vacations. I want to make sure I can take care of my child or whatever. You might find yourself at like 32, 35, being able to do all of that, and not really necessarily having to work again, to be honest with you. But a lot of people what we found is a lot of people that have done the things to to build the wealth that they need to do that, to build or retire early at, whether it be in your 30s or early 40s or whatever it is, they're generally the people that they like the work, they like the drive, they like the building or whatever it is that they're doing. So when they get to that stage, one of two things happen. One, they get to the stage and they realize through something called life creep that that's really not success to them. Success to them is a bigger house and a nicer car and bigger vacations, right? Or they're just like, yeah, I'm good. I'm actually would be perfectly happy right now. Like they've kept that same sort of standard. But they're like, you know what? I just want to see actually how far I can go. And that's kind of where we find ourselves. I tell people all the time, they're like, hey, what do you do for work? I'm like, I'm retired. And they get this expression like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're retired? I see you doing real estate all the time. You're posting stuff. You guys say you're doing 100 transactions a year. You're bringing in seven figures, all that kind of what do you mean you're retired? Like you're working all the time. Like, well, no, I am retired. I have the ability to retire early. I've met my, fire number where I need to be, where I could just live just like this for the rest of my life when I was about 36 years old. I'm going now because I'm like, how far can I go? A lot of that is I just like the game, right? And then secondary to that, I just want to see how much I can give to my parents, or give to my children. If I can set my children up, with generational wealth where they never have to worry about anything, and I can set up their kids as kids with the exact same thing, the legacy for the whole family is pretty drastic. We're going to talk about this like towards the end of the course, but if you are watching this and you are the Western side of the world, so you're in Europe or you're in America, whatever, the way that like Americans or in just generally Western cultures live for ourselves, and Eastern cultures they live for the family. And so one of the things I thought was very, very awesome when Claire and I started dating my wife is that she has this passion of like, we're going to work on building the family. And so while may independently me and her maybe reach our family, our fire number, we may not necessarily have reached that as a family. And so I want to do more, go more to build my family, to build a generational wealth, to build to make sure that they're all taken care of. Because if I'm good, but the family's not great and my kids aren't really set up, that's kind of frustrating to me. Um, so, so if we know it is whatever we want, whenever we want, for as long as you want, um, combining that with what you just probably taught, which probably you wrote down, which is I want a nice house, whatever. There's a number in how to get there, right? So you might be saying to yourself, okay, well, yeah, so I want a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house. I want a modest house, decent middle class house. I want a decent car. I want to be able to take several vacations, and I really don't want to work. I want to be retired at, I don't know, 40 years old or whatever. Well, how do you do that? How do you get there? And, you'd be shocked. But a lot of people actually have never even thought about this. They're like, I'll just throw some money in savings account and whatever. But to be honest with you, math, um, math it's just it's a math problem. Okay, retirement is a math problem, rather. It's very simple. If the cost of your lifestyle with whatever you wrote down has a number that's attached to it, retirement or financial stability or financial independence is your ability to have that amount of money coming in each month. Okay. And now for some of you, like, okay, that's obvious. I get that. And so it's important though, because some of you guys don't necessarily just see that, but forget about how that money's coming in each month. Currently, right now, you're working and you get a check, and that's what the money's coming in. But if you're working, then you can't do whatever you want, whenever you want, for as long as you want. You're not financially independent. Okay. You might be financially stable, like you pay for all your bills, but we're talking about financial freedom. Like you can retire, you can do whatever you want to. So you need to figure out how do I structure myself or structure my life or whatever, so that I can, in a certain given period of time, have money coming into me, say 5 grand a month or whatever your number is, 5 grand a month, so that I never have to work that. That's what you're building to. And so we say like why people aren't successful. Well, because people have knowledge, but they don't have a plan. Meaning, like I know I got to save and invest, but like, and I know I need to like have some money coming in for retirement, but like I don't know what that looks like. Like you need a plan. You need to be able to say, no, I know in retirement, in order to do this, I'm going to need X amount of money coming in each month. And so if I have that, need that, how do I get that money coming each month? And then I just got to reverse engineer that and I got to make the plan. That's what we're doing in this course. Okay. And that sounds simple, but it gets super complicated. Um, there's two different ways to do that. There's two core to different ways that people do that, and we're going to discuss both of them. Which one you decide to choose is completely up to you. It doesn't really matter. But we're going to go over the Dave Ramsey method, which is more frugality, less debt. We're going to go over what I call the Grant Cardone method, which is massive debt, leverage, and so forth. You're going to be able to choose which one you want, or maybe there's a combination of both. Before we do that, what we need to do is we need to figure out what your fire number is. Okay. This is going to take you some time. And so we'll end the video here. And this is kind of just an assignment I want you to do, tonight. I don't know when you're watching this, but this is an assignment I want you to do is to determine what is your fire number. And I want you to determine your fire number in a very realistic way. If you are in your 20s, um, and you don't necessarily know, well, like, I have no idea, use your best guess, get a mentor. Like, for example, if you're like, well, I know I'm in college or whatever, when I graduate, what success looks for me is to have a nice house, go on Zillow or Realtor.com or one of these other places, find a house that you like in an area that you want to live and figure out how much that is. And then just use the mortgage calculator that's on the website and figure out what it cost, basically. What's the mortgage and taxes of insurance? It's going to be on there. If you want to drive a BMW, go to BMW.com, pick the car that you want to drive, go into their financing, and they'll have like a car calculator there. You can figure it out and say, car calculator, how much would it be for a payment for a BM for the car that I want at this amount at 5 years at the given interest rates? Put in, Google average interest rates. I need you guys to do this exercise. Things you want to think about when you're trying to think of your fire number: you're going to need housing, you're going to need transportation, you're going to need medical. For medical, just for as a default, it is 2024 as you're recording this. Just put in, I would put in, $300 a month at least, three to 500, somewhere in that range. If you know you have medications or something, but $300. You need to have, cell phone cost is going to cost what? You're probably going to have utilities. So kind of you can estimate utilities of it's like, $100 for water, $200 for electricity, whatever. So you need housing, you need transportation, you need medical, you need sort of utilities to take care of that housing. You could put that on the same number if you want to. And then I want you to think about like how much money do you think you would use or would you want to like for spending? This is different for everyone, just like the housing is going to be different for everyone. But like, how much do you think you'd spend in a given month? Put it in there. How much do you think you would spend in, for, going out to eat, for groceries? Everyone's different for that. I want you to figure out your number. I want you to figure out a monthly budget on that. And so for some of you, if you're in someone stage of your life, you might be saying to yourself, listen, I only need 5 grand a month. Some of you might be saying, you know what? I need $10,000 a month. Some of you might be targeting 40 or $50,000 a month. I would encourage you to tailor yourself down to the smaller side. Like, what is the bare minimum of happiness to you? If you're thinking like, oh, well, I want to drive a Ferrari, I want to have a $2 million house on the beach, I want to be able to travel, spend $10,000 in traveling a month, like you can end up with a crazy number. That's not what we're going for. What I'm looking for you to do is like, what's your financial independence number that gets you kind of like just in a decent spot? Let the other things be the how far I can go. Okay. If your number's like $60,000 a month, to be honest with you, unless you make big moves, it's probably gonna be hard for you to get there. But it could be demotivating for you if it's such a large number when we start to do the calculations of how do we get there. If your number's like, oh, I just need $6,000 or $7,000 a month coming in, and I would probably be pretty good, then that number's a lot more attainable. You can hit it maybe after like 5 or 10 years, and that will give you a lot of motivation. After you hit that number, then you can go further. So I want you to take the rest of the time. I want you to go in. I want you to do your calculation. I want you to figure out your fire number. Again, it is, and if you're on our website doing this, I'll put like a list. I'll put an Excel like spreadsheet or something of a list of all the things that you should be thinking about. But again, housing, transportation, utilities, medical, eating out, fun, those types of things. How much money do you need coming in each month? Um, that if you never had worked again and you were never getting a paycheck from your 9 to 5, this is the amount of dollar a month that would be coming in that you can take care of everything, which then would give you the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, for as long as you want. Until next time.